Will crypto and stocks now have a blow off top because Trump and China just agreed to a new deal that removes pretty much all of the tariffs, right? China has already come down to just 10% tariffs, whilst US has now come down to only 30% tariffs. And that's actually pretty low because US had 17% tariffs on China in Trump 1.0, which was 2018. And then it also had another 20% what they call fentanyl tariffs back in February this year. So it was already 37% on China before April 2nd, Liberation Day. This is now even lower than that. This is now at 30%. So, but look at this. The markets, are they reacting properly to this? So Bitcoin is actually down. Ethereum is down. And you think, yeah, well, maybe it's being anticipated. But it's not. Look at this. Can you guys see this? SP 500 up 3%. NASDAQ up 4%. NASDAQ 100 up 4%. Russell up 3.5%. Right? It's not anticipated at all. Gold is down 3% because gold, as I've been telling you guys, basically works the other way. Gold basically peaks, right, when there's maximum amount of fear, when we don't know what's going to go on, be happening in the world, and then it crashes, right, when everything's back to certainty again. So when did it peak? April 22nd, right, when there was still so much uncertainty in the world, and then basically drops down later. Okay. By the way, I think gold is heading to this low 2900s area. Now, very interesting today. So why is it that Bitcoin is not going up, right? Not going up 3-4% on a day like this. Now, this is the short-term holders ratio that I used, right, to help folks call the bottom in Bitcoin. When it was at about 74K, I said bottom was like, for me, my target was 73K. We almost got there. I said that as soon as 92K was confirmed broken. So now we're going to have a look at that chart today to see where Bitcoin's headed and also help us answer, has Bitcoin exhausted itself? Because usually what happens is on a run like this, when you have that the stocks and gold all reacting, right, and saying it's not priced in, because look at this. This is the China Hang Seng Tech Index in Hong Kong. It's up 5% today, right? Other China stocks, crypto stocks, such as all of them are up huge today. KWeb is basically also the ETF for China web stocks. They're all up. But look at crypto. Bitcoin down, Ethereum down. Not down a lot, but it just, usually we need to be careful when on very good news like this, right? And everything else is pumping, but Bitcoin and crypto are not. So we're going to try to answer that today. Before we get to that question, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo use? Well, Pablo uses this exchange that is non-KYC. That means you don't need to show your ID to get in. That means the exchange can't even see who you are. So I made a deal with them for my followers, deposit on this Pablo link and get up to $200 and trade, and then went up to $35,000, right? Limited time only until June 4th, right? Chance to win a Tesla Model 3, Rolex watch, Vision Pro, Sony, PlayStation, iPhone, all these great prizes. Okay, so if you're on YouTube watching this, then the link is in the description below. The link is in the description below. If you're on any other platform, such as this one, then basically it's okay. Just click on my profile page and then click on the Stand link, and it should be the first deal that pops up here. Okay, so the first deal that pops up, because this is a great deal, and let's get back to the markets. And remember, folks, only on the Pablo link, only here. Okay, so the first, I think you guys are probably all aware by now that this is a big deal because of the tariffs being signed. This entire drop in Bitcoin, you could say, other than some profit taken by the whales, was caused by this big tariff deal, right? I mean, it bottomed exactly on April 7th. That's when the NASDAQ bottomed, right? We'll have a look at the NASDAQ and the SP 500. SP 500, when did it bottom? April 7th. Here. April 7th, right? Now I was expecting a bigger pullback, and then we go up. We form this inverse head and shoulders, and then we go up. But obviously I didn't know they were gonna do the talk to, like on Saturday and come out with a great deal. I didn't know until like on Sunday that this was gonna happen. I mean, I did make the prediction they're going to put up a major pause in the tariffs on the like 15 hours before they announced, but it had to be pretty close to the date. So this, I was expecting this, but it popped up, and that just goes to show you these sort of things are, you know, crazy moves in the market because no one could predict what's going to happen on this day, right? Until we actually got to Sunday. Now I said, yeah, it's going to happen. So, well, right now I would say this is still, let's put it on regular chart. Oh, that's pretty good. That's much better. So we've cleared this major trend line here in green, right? Major channel. And now if we can hold this, then next major resistance is 585 area on the SP 500. And then we could be heading for blow off top. And this is also happening on Bitcoin as well, except its reaction today has me somewhat worried because, so I've just shown you guys that basically Bitcoin reacts in the same fashion as the stock market, especially when it comes to tariffs, right? They all went down for the last 2 or 3 months, and they all bottomed on April 7th. That's not a coincidence. And then they all had a big bounce, and both are kind of near all-time highs again, especially Bitcoin's close. So the fact that everything else, you have NASDAQ, SP 500, China stocks, Hong Kong stocks, gold, all reacting to this major news, and yet Bitcoin's not reacting, that has me worried. So by the way, just get back to one more thing about this whole tariff thing before we look at the on-chain data on Bitcoin. So here was my prediction on April 29th. And in my Discord, I've actually been saying this for a week. I said, I've been saying for last week that Trump already caved. And that is why the market's bottomed and already bounced, right? I said this around like mid-April because markets bottomed around, April 7th. I said, I coined the phrase that Trump is Barney Rubble cavemen, right? If you've seen the Flintstones, they say yabba dabba doo. They're all cavemen, right? They're Flintstones. So Barney Rubble is this blonde guy, the Fred Flintstone's best friend, and he's a blonde guy as well. So I said Trump is Barney Rubble caveman. He's not gonna cave. He's already caved. And the logic behind that was, it's basically in this whole thread. I talk about Walmart. I talk about, Trump having meeting with Walmart. Basically, the logic is Walmart and Target had a meeting with Trump. And Trump, we don't know the results of that meeting, but we can guess very accurately because as soon as they came out of the meeting, they called their Chinese suppliers and they said, look, start your shipment. And the factory workers, bosses were like, we can't pay 145% tariffs. And then Walmart said to them, don't worry, we'll pay for it. And the Chinese started shipping them. So you can imagine, yeah, right, like Walmart, who watches their margins like a hawk like this, are gonna pay for those 145% tariffs for the Chinese factories. Yeah, right. So obviously not. So obviously then what happened is Trump told them, okay guys, I understand, we're gonna have empty shelves. And if this situation is in American supermarkets, in Walmart, in Costco, and if we don't resolve this situation, then come by July, August, then that's when all these major shopping chains buy their Christmas stuff. If we don't resolve this by then basically it's going to be a very bad Christmas scenario. Voters not going to forgive him for that. So he basically said, look, it'll be resolved in the next 2 or 3 weeks. By the time you call your Chinese suppliers and they'll start shipping, by the time it ships and arrives in the United States in 4 weeks' time, this tariff will be down by then. That's the only way that Walmart, someone like Walmart, can promise to pay 145% tariffs. So, once again, I said, I analyzed all this plus other data. I said a blow off top is coming. And I said Trump is going to be Barney Rubble caveman. He's going to cave. He's already caved. And that's why I kept on saying, look, blow off top is coming to crypto. Anyways, have a look at, read that thread if you want. And it's the kind of info I give out in my Discord, sometimes a week or two earlier in the market. So let's have a look at the Bitcoin short-term holders on-chain metric, and what is that telling us? Well, last time we had a look at it, it gave me a very good signal. What it told me was basically this. So last time we were looking at it, it was here, right? And I said, look, whenever it reaches the bottom of these extremes, then chances are you're going to go for a bounce. And there was around 70, like mid 70Ks, right? Like when it came down here, this is the bottom, around 50K before it ran to 100K. When it came down here, bottom. When it came down here, right? Bottom. Well, here it was actually the bottom of a local bottom for a bounce. This was a great bottom pick as well. So the problem is you can't rely on every time, but it's a good indicator because it's the profit and loss ratio of short-term holders. Short-term holders, as you know, tend to be the latecomers. They're buying and out, rushing in. Short-term holders buying and out when Bitcoin's at above 100K, selling it when Bitcoin, panic selling it when Bitcoin was below 70K. So when Pablo told everyone, it's that we're gonna bottom in the low 70s, and we're going for a bounce to at least above 100K, and if not to even higher. But the new all-time high. So now the new all-time high scenario is looking good, and this chart explains why. The green zone, right, shows that it's a bull market, and the red zone shows that it's a bear market. It's a relatively good signal because look, it stayed in the green pretty much this whole time and kept us riding this wave this whole time. And then when it went red, it wasn't early, but look at this, when it popped into green, it would have gotten us in around here, around 40K, and then rolled it all the way up to 69K top, but it gave the signal of a bear market at around this 50s area. And you can look at this, retrace this throughout this whole chart, and here it gives a good signal of new bull market, and that was around 25K. Told us it was bull market all the way until this was a fake out. This was not really good, but got us back in here and got us riding all the way to 73K here. Told us there was a bear market, which is pretty accurate, and then told us the break up was coming here just before, and it gave us the signal before the big run up to 108, 109K. And now it's trying to leave this bear market area again, and once it does and give us these green shoots here, then it's going to confirm we're in another bull leg up. So very good signal here. This is, I use this to time the bottom because there was a lot of panic here. We saw a spike down bottom, and now it's about to give us a second signal telling us that, hey, that we're in another bull leg up. And if that does happen, then basically Bitcoin could easily have a blow off top. As I explained to you guys earlier in this video, that basically the biggest hurdle is basically tariffs, and probably the biggest hurdle is the tariffs against China, and now basically it's down to 30%. You might think, oh my God, it's still huge, 30%, and China's got 10% on the US. But as I told you guys at the very start of this video, 10% is actually lower than what it was in March. Remember how on April 2nd, Trump did Liberation Day, and he put up tariffs on everybody in the world? Well, just a few days before that, if we look at end of March, right, Trump had 17% on China from his first term, and then 20% on what he calls fentanyl tariffs or fentanyl levy, whatever. So that was 37% already. Right now, we're back down to 30%. That is lower than even before he started this whole Liberation Day announcement of tariffs. So this is really good news. And look, I know the Fed is still really careful about inflation right now, but at least it makes the Fed, it can give the Fed more room to cut interest rates to NQT, and then we could still have a big, bull run. Okay, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys for next episode.